Good morning, Europe. It's Thursday, the 24th of May. Our headlines for you today. World turned upside down. The daughter of a former Russian spy speaks on camera for the first time after being poisoned by a nerve agent. And over in the Cube, our social media news desk.
It's the referendum dividing a country with social media right at the heart. We're going to break down the hashtags fueling Ireland's abortion debate.
Courting Europe, why the man who helped Donald Trump become president is looking for new allies among the EU's far right. Asylum scandal. Germany's government take action against a refugee center accused of taking bribes to wave applicants through. Thank you for starting your day with us. Our top story, a long and painful recovery. That's how Yulia Skripal is describing the last 11 weeks since she and her father, a former Russian spy, were poisoned in the UK. Well, Skripal is speaking on camera for the first time since they were both found unconscious on that park bench in Salisbury. Russia stands accused of orchestrating the attack. But despite it all, and perhaps surprisingly, Skripal says she still wants to return to Russia to live one day. Euronews journalist Bryony Williams reports.
In her first television interview since being poisoned, the daughter of an ex-Russian spy says she's lucky to be alive. Yulia Skripal and her father Sergei were exposed to nerve agent in Salisbury in March. She was discharged from the city's district hospital 6 weeks after the attack. After 20 days in a coma, I woke to the news that we may have been poisoned. I still find it difficult to come to terms with the fact that both of us were attacked in such a way. The fact that a nerve agent was used to do this is shocking. We are so lucky to have both survived this attempted assassination. The 33-year-old paid tribute to the people who treated her since the attack, describing them as wonderful and kind. I take one day at a time and want to help care for my father until his full recovery. In the longer term, I hope to return home to my country. I'm grateful for the offers of assistance from the Russian embassy, but at the moment I do not wish to avail myself of their services. The British Prime Minister Theresa May says it's highly likely Russia was behind the attack. Russia strongly denies the allegations.
Bryony Williams reporting there. As she said, the Kremlin has responded to Skripal's interview and saying they believe it was made under duress. And every move, every word of Yulia Skripal is being analyzed. Alex in the Cube has more on this.
Absolutely, Tessa. There are many voices in this argument. And here in the Cube and at Euronews, we're about hearing all of those voices. The team have been looking at what is being said online about this interview. And from the way she spoke to the way she looked, people have been dissecting everything about that Yulia Skripal statement. Let's just pull up the official Russian position, which didn't really help matters here. Russian embassy in the UK saying that this video actually fueled what they called their concerns that Yulia is being held against her own will and is speaking here under pressure. There's an interesting point here made by Charles Shoebridge, a security analyst who appears often on Russian television. He says, OK, these words might be genuine. Flip it round the other way. If a British citizen was doing a similarly rehearsed speech on Russian television, they'd be the first to claim that this was made under duress. There's another point here about the way Yulia spoke. Gorsky Dmitry here saying that the way Yulia spoke, her Russian didn't sound natural. Now, here at Euronews, we have a Russian team, so I took this clip to them earlier and asked them to listen to it. And they said that while the speech is formal and it does look like it's rehearsed, the Russian itself is formal and rehearsed Russian. It's not English badly translated into Russian and repeated, as some people are suggesting. Either way, perhaps this sums up the attitude of people on the other side of the debate. It's a cartoon here suggesting that this is a dream for conspiracy theorists who are trying to connect all these little bits rather than seeing what might be in front of them. Two sides, in fact, many positions within those sides. What do you think? We want to hear from you. Let us know. #theCube.
All right. Thanks for that, Alex. Now, Iran is laying out its conditions for remaining in a nuclear deal with Europe, and it's also threatening to resume its enrichment of uranium if those conditions aren't met. The conditions include protecting Iran oil sales and safeguarding trade. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he was withdrawing from the deal earlier this month, a move that puts at risk billions of dollars of business for European companies. And Emmanuel Macron continues his push to save the Iran nuclear deal today. The French president is in Russia to meet with Vladimir Putin. Our correspondent, Andis Borges, is live in Paris with more on this. Andis, what is Macron hoping to get out of this?
Well, Emmanuel Macron has made salvaging the JPOA a foreign policy priority for France. And the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, seems to agree that this deal is not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Both France and Russia, which is also a signatory of this deal, say that they're working for peace, for common safety, for safeguarding common peace in the world. And of course, Russia and China could offer some sort of resistance to the U.S. in this deal. So this is very important for Emmanuel Macron. This meeting will be very important. And during a briefing at the French presidential palace, his team said that it will, of course, the deal will dominate the talks. But there will be other items on the agenda. The team here in Paris say that these are leaders that are in constant dialogue, that they are constantly talking. In fact, Vladimir Putin seems to be the world leader. Emmanuel Macron has spoken the most, more than 10 phone conversations since he took office last year. That is a lot, Tesa. But of course, there will be several areas of disagreement. You mentioned Skripal. There will also be the allegations of Russian hacking, Russian interference in elections here in Europe, but also in the US. There will be Crimea, of course, that forgotten annexation, that forgotten war in Ukraine, and of course, Syria. This is a major sticking point here between the two leaders because, of course, they have very different views on what should be the outcome of the war in Syria. Russia supports the regime of Bashar al-Assad, while France thinks that Assad is an enemy of his own people. So plenty to talk about. It remains to be seen whether or not there will be a lot achieved in this meeting. But one thing is for sure, there won't be as much affection between the two leaders as we saw between Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump. I find it hard to believe that we will see Putin and Macron actually hugging or holding hands, Tessa.
Indeed, let's wait and see. Thanks for that, Annelise Borges, live in Paris. Now, Steve Bannon is in the middle of a European comeback tour. The former chief strategist for Donald Trump delivered a speech at a far-right political conference in Hungary last night. Euronews correspondent Brian Carter was there, and now he's joining us live from Budapest. Brian, what was Bannon's message, and who was there to hear it?
So Bannon was clearly speaking to a friendly crowd. I mean, he was applauded several times during his speech, and people laughed at some of his jokes. The title of his speech was Trump's America First and its impact on Central Europe. But he actually spoke very little about Central Europe, and some of the people in the crowd were quite disappointed about that. He mostly spoke about U.S. issues and his vision of the world. And from the very beginning, he was very aggressive in his speech, and especially towards his two favorite enemies, the media and the global elite. The media, he called them, I quote, a pack of hyenas, the propaganda machine, and the opposition party. As for the global elites, he said that they were the worst people in the world and he detests them, and they were not ready to hear the truth. He also talked about several issues. I mean, from the financial crisis to the U.S. elections to this new axis that he sees formed by China, Turkey, and Iran, which he still calls Persia. This new axis that is against the Judeo-Christian world, and that Europeans should defend this Judeo-Christian world. So it was a lot of vague concepts with little coherence between them. And I spoke to a couple of people that attended his speech and who confirmed that they were quite disappointed, that they were hoping to hear more about Bannon's vision for Europe, especially for Central Europe and the connections with the U.S.
And Brian, you will be speaking to Bannon yourself later today, and he's already made some controversial remarks to other news channels. What will you be asking him then?
Yes, indeed, Tessa. I'm standing right in front of the hotel where Steve Bannon is staying here in Budapest, and we'll have an interview with him shortly after this interview. He's already been speaking to several media outlets since he has been in Europe, media outlets that he usually despises, including a couple of days ago. He gave an interview to the BBC during which he had these controversial remarks regarding Martin Luther King.
Said Donald Trump has the lowest black unemployment in history. Donald Trump has the lowest Hispanic unemployment in 25 years. If you look at the policies of Donald Trump, okay, anybody, Martin Luther King would be proud of him, of what he's done for the black and Hispanic community.
So as you can see, controversial remarks indeed about Dr. King, especially given some of the remarks that Steve Bannon gave in the past. We remember when he was at the National Front in France, he said that when people call you racist, you should wear it as a badge of honor. So our questions here at Euronews will be asking Steve Bannon more specific questions about Europe and what he sees for the future of Europe. Tessa?
All right, thanks for that, Brian Carter, live in Budapest. Now to Germany, where the Interior Ministry has stripped the Migration Office in Bremen of the power to approve asylum cases. This move follows accusations that the branch improperly approved more than 1,000 applications between 2013 and 2016. Our correspondent Jessica Sulz is in Berlin with more on this. Jessica, what is this scandal all about?
Well, Tessa, I'm actually standing outside an asylum organisation in Berlin that offers asylum seekers help when they arrive in the German capital. And of course, the migration and asylum issue in Germany is still very divisive here. In fact, you can see this poster behind me, Stop the Hate, Stop the AfD. And of course, the AfD, the far-right party in Germany, has had a lot to say about this asylum agency scandal. BAMF, which is the Federal Agency for Migration in Germany, it's been revealed that its Bremen office approved 1,200 asylum requests without reviewing each case properly. And it's raised lots of questions about possible bribery, who was involved from the agency and who knew what when. Other regional agencies, offices are currently being investigated, and Horst Seehofer, Germany's interior minister, has now said that the Bremen agency will no longer be allowed to approve asylum. Now, Seehofer himself is also going to be under questioning about just how much he knew about this scandal and when. So the political fallout of this certainly is continuing.
Yeah, indeed, and it's becoming a really big story in Germany. Is the tone towards asylum seekers shifting?
Well, certainly the success of the AfD, the far-right party, and it's been in the national parliament now since September, is really shaping the debate here. Now, the AfD is calling for a full parliamentary investigation into this asylum scandal involving Germany's migration office. Of course, this really plays into the hands of the AfD, who have been very critical of the German government's migration policy for some time. I spoke to a Syrian refugee, Ahmad Denu, who lives in Berlin, and he said while many people here are still very welcoming towards migrants and refugees, he believes that the success of the AfD has seen the tone changing. He told me about his own personal anti-migrant experiences in the center of Berlin. Here's what he had to say.
Once I was at Ebs-Walterstraße, Prenzlauer Berg, and just a person with a bottle of beer just came to me and were saying, like, why you are here? You have to go back to your country, you have to fight there, you don't have a place here. And he wanted to kick me in my face, and I was like, I didn't.
So Ahmad Denu, who also works with many asylum seekers arriving in the country, told me that he's very concerned about the rise of anti-migrant sentiment in Germany.
All right, thanks for that. Jessica Sulz, live in Berlin. And still to come for you on Good Morning Europe, campaign climax. The battle for votes draws to a close in Ireland's divisive abortion referendum. The latest from our correspondent in Dublin.
In the Cube, we're going to be breaking down how that referendum is being fought on social media. But first, let's check out your weather.
You're watching Good Morning Europe. Our top story, Yulia Skripal, the daughter of an ex-Russian spy who's recovering from a suspected nerve agent attack, appeared on camera for the first time, saying that she felt, quote, lucky to be alive. And she also said that she wants to return to Russia one day. Russia denies any involvement. Should Ireland scrap its ban on abortion? That's what voters are about to decide on a historic referendum. Now, a clause in Ireland's constitution protecting the unborn has resulted in abortion being illegal in almost all circumstances. Our correspondent Vincent McAviney is live for us in Dublin now. Vincent, voters will decide tomorrow whether to repeal or keep this ban known as the Eighth Amendment. Why is this conversation happening now?
Well, good morning from Dublin, Tessa. Politicians here at the Dáil, the Irish Parliament, voted to give this choice to the people. Ireland has some of the toughest abortion laws in the world, with an almost total ban, including in cases of rape, incest, and fetal fatal abnormality.
Every year, thousands of Irish women have an abortion, but not at home at hospitals like this one in Dublin. On average, 10 a day have to travel to Great Britain for the procedure, often returning within the same day to save costs and protect their secret. At least 2 will risk a 14-year prison sentence to take safe but illegal abortion pills bought off the internet. But all that might be about to change. The country's Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, believes Irish women's health is being jeopardised.
As Taoiseach, as a medical doctor, as a former Minister for Health, I don't believe we can persist with a situation whereby women in crisis are risking their lives through the use of unregulated medicines.
Ireland has experienced huge social changes since the ban was brought in 30 years ago, but the polls look tight. Though the influence of the Catholic Church may have diminished, there's still a deep climate of shame around abortion. Vicky Wall was offered an abortion when it was discovered her baby had a fatal fetal abnormality, but refused and waited for her to pass naturally. She's now campaigning to keep the ban.
I try to talk to people to let them know that women deserve more than abortion. It's a violent act on a woman to perform an abortion. It hurts women and it kills a baby. Women deserve better than that.
But Claire Cullen de Sol's baby also had a fatal fetal abnormality. She asked to be induced but was told that would constitute an abortion. She had to carry for a further 6 weeks.
It didn't matter that I couldn't function. It didn't matter that I wasn't me. It didn't matter that my mental health was absolutely in tatters. All that mattered was that I was alive and she was alive because I was pregnant. And that's all that counts. When you're pregnant, you're alive, that's good enough for you. And it's not. It's not good enough for me, not good enough for other women, and it certainly will never be good enough for my daughters. And that's why we need to make sure that there is change, because just being alive is not good enough.
Tessa, this issue has really split the country. The polls are incredibly close. There's a lot of people here undecided. And you can hopefully just see over my shoulder some of these placards. Now, these are on every single lamppost and piece of street furniture in Dublin. I haven't been able to walk down the street without seeing any. The tensions here are running quite high on this, and we're expecting the result to come in either late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. We think there will be recounts because it's going to be so close.
All right, thanks for that, Vincent McAviney, reporting live there from Dublin. Thank you. Well, the debate online, it really has been charged on both sides. And we have a lot of voters giving their opinions on this. And we have a lot of that opinion, which Alex will bring for us.
Absolutely, Tessa. So we're seeing there Vinny showing the signs in the streets, the signs you can see, the signs perhaps that aren't as immediately obvious as that, what's going on social media. But we've been monitoring this for months now in the Cube. And we can break down for you how that discussion has been going on online. Now, the main hashtag that people seem to be using is this one here. Hashtag repeal the 8th. Now, on the surface, repeal the 8th seems to be a pro-yes, a positive message. But actually, we're seeing this hashtag being used by both sides. And it's not just arguments people are sharing. When they use these hashtags, they're sharing deeply personal stories. And you know, with a variety of hashtags, it really is a personal, hugely emotive issue. We've been breaking down some of those figures. This graph here, not much to look at, but we've made that ever so slightly easier to understand for you in 2 charts. This is the main hashtag for yes. Hashtag together for yes. And look at the gender divide. Women, 59% back in that hashtag. Men, 41%. Let's turn that around and look at the main hashtag for the no campaign, Save the 8th. Men, 55%. Women, just under 45%. You see that clear gender split on those 2 main hashtags. But as I say, this isn't just an argument. It's not just about numbers. This is about people's personal opinions. And perhaps another hashtag that really is about that personal journey is people going home. Hashtag home to vote. People tracing their stories back to Ireland to pledge their votes in this referendum. And also other people promising to donate money to help people go home. Irish voters overseas who can't afford to go back, pledging money. So there are a variety of hashtags. But at the centre of this are deeply personal opinions on both sides of the argument. We'll keep across this for you. All the latest, hashtag theCUBE.
Indeed, a really charged debate there in Ireland. Thank you, Alex. Well, outstanding achievements in European innovation, politics and entrepreneurship were celebrated last night at a ceremony in Brussels organized by Euronews and the European Business Summit. Emmanuel Macron won the award for Leader of the Year, which was accepted by the French ambassador to the EU on his behalf, where he read out a message from the French president saying Europe must rise up to the challenges and remain united. Now, the president of the European Parliament, Antonio Tajani, also presented the sons of murdered journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia with a special award to honor her work.
That enabled her murder remain as dangerous as ever.
And we'll be back for you with more, but first, weather. You're watching Good Morning Europe. Welcome back. Now, a simple viral video in China. This has triggered an app war between two tech giants. Alex has more on this. Alex, what's this?
Absolutely, Tessa. It's probably the viral craze you've not heard about from two big players in China that, again, you've probably not heard about. They're not familiar over here in Europe. But just check this out. This is the video, the surprising video at the centre of all of it. Doesn't seem much at first. These are, what people have done is turned museum objects into dancing figures. This was created by one of the two web giants. The other has blocked it. So this is This is the latest fault line in a clash of Chinese tech giants. Really quite a surprising thing. It looks almost like a Disney film, doesn't it? What do you think? Have you been across this? It's starting to bleed into Western social media as well. So in case you missed it, that's the latest craze in China.
All right, thanks for that, Alex. And thank you for joining us today in Good Morning Europe. Do stay with us, and in the meantime, we'll leave you with no comment from Hawaii, where new fissures from the erupting Kilauea volcano are expanding lava fields.